Hi, I'm here to talk to you a little bit about Adobe Photoshop for beginners. So Adobe Photoshop is a very complicated program, has a lot of things going on in it. This is Adobe Photoshop Creative Cloud, one of the newer versions. So getting an image into Photoshop for editing can be quite easy. I'm using a Mac here, and one way to get an image is to use Photo Booth. So Photo Booth is able to right here, and I've already taken a photo here earlier. So I've shot this with my webcam. So if I take that image from Photo Booth and I drag it over the Photoshop icon, it will open that image from Photo Booth. Another thing that sometimes you need to do is open a document that you've downloaded from the internet or whatever. So here is an image that I found on Flickr that was labeled for Creative Commons. It's by this fellow named Andreas, and I hit the download button here and I grab the original size, yada yada yada, so forth, and I've downloaded that to my desktop. So what I can also do here is I can go to my desktop, and here's my image that I downloaded from Flickr, and I can drag that over the top, or I could use the File Open option. So I just drag that over the icon because that's the quick way. Or like I said, I can go to the File Open, or I could use Adobe's file manager called Bridge, which helps me dig through my computer's hard drive and find images to open. Alright, so I've got a couple images open, but to be able to edit and montage them together, I need to get them in the same working space. So here I've got my egg background here that I'm going to use, and here's my original shot. And I'm going to take my face, and by the end of these tutorials I'm going to have my face on the side of the egg. So what I want to do is I want to take the photo here and drag this down so it's in its own separate window. Just show that again. So it's back. Oops. I'm just going to drag that back up so you see it again. So here is that image. I'm just dragging that down so it's in its own little workspace. Alright, with that background layer selected, I'm just dragging the background layer into my egg document. So I'm just going to show that. So I've got this image over here and my egg document's there. If I drag that background over, it drops that into the space, and then if you look over on the right side here, here's my layers palette. This is a very important area to be looking at, because basically this background layer here is the bottom. Like if I was making a sandwich, this would be my first piece of bread on the bottom, and then this layer here is now my first piece of something in my sandwich, which is this layer here, which is my face. So if I grab my move tool and I move down, there's that image. If I push the eyeball, that makes that invisible. If I push it again, it toggles it back and forth. Alright, so I've got that image here, and the first thing I want to do here is I want to make sure that it fits into the whole window. So I'm going to go to the image pull down menu and hit Free Transform or Command T. And it brings the bounding box of the whole image. I can now shrink that image down so that it fits within that space. I have the Shift key held down, so I'm stretching the vertical and horizontal at the same time. So now that I've got that in my space, I've basically got a little preview of that window, and now I can hit the Enter or Return key to tell Photoshop that I'm happy with that transformation. So now that I've hit the Enter key, it's rendered that object and made it ready to be edited. So now I've got my two documents together. I've got my toolbars over here, and I'm just going to talk through those a couple of these tools first and talk about the working space in Photoshop. So in the left hand toolbar here, which is this over here. Alright, so this is the left-hand toolbar, which my dock is mounted on the left, so it's getting in my way. This is the left-hand toolbar, alright? So there's the Move tool. If I look at the top, this toolbar shows a bunch of settings. So whatever's selected here on the left will change this top toolbar. So these are the settings for those tools. So if I change tools, now that whole top toolbar changes. So depending on what's selected, it will give me the settings for those tools in the top toolbar. So if I look at some of those things in the dock, if I click and hold on things, I can find other tools that are nested underneath it. So this is what it normally shows by default, is the lasso tool, but I like the polygonal lasso tool better in my workflow. So I normally keep the polygonal lasso up on top. Alright, so I've got my face here, I've got my layers set up, I've got my top toolbar, I've got my different tools on the side here. I've got my palettes on this side here. The palettes are different controls and objects. So I was talking about the layers palette before. If you don't see the layers palette, you can push the window pull down menu, and you can turn on different palettes so you can bring them forward. You can also untick them to make them go away. So if I go back to that navigator here, it'll show that up. If I can also toggle it back and forth here. The navigator is a way of zooming in and out on a part of your screen, which is quite helpful in Photoshop. Alright, so I have my different layers here. I've got my navigator, and if I want to find other things that I'm talking about, I can go to the window pull down menu. Alright, so now I've got this space here, and I'm going to start showing you how to remove things in my next video clip, so I can remove the background here in my next clip.